podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first-time Stephen King reader.
Hi, we're here on a Friday. Welcome. Happy Friday evening. Happy birthday to Harry Potter, even though this is a Floats Down Here podcast. But, you know, we celebrate the things almost 2 days early. Hi, how are you? We're here. We are doing Stephen King-like things, TV Stephen King-like things, not really a book. I gotta start by saying it was kind of refreshing to have a month off of reading. Not gonna lie.
I'm with you. It was nice. This was a little bit easier. I will say it was a bit of an effort to watch this 6.5 hour long thing, but it's just tough time. For me, it's easier to audiobook kind of whenever I want, rather than sit down and dedicate. I don't really watch a ton of TV, so unless I am doing something for a podcast, so I'm used to that. But it's usually not a 6 hour long episode that I have to kind of think about.
Yeah, it was a different skill set this month, right? We're gonna stretch in different ways we haven't used. So I'm gonna call that. I'm here, of course, right? I'm Melissa here with Luke and Ben. How's it going? Everybody hanging in there?
Yeah.
Happy end of the 7 month.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, doing well.
All right. So we are going to go ahead. We're going to jump in. We actually watched the 1994 Stand miniseries. The teleplay was actually by Stephen King, based off of his own book, which was very apparent, as we will, I'm sure, talk about. And we'll kind of jump right on in.
So another quick thing, you're welcome. I didn't pick the new one, the 2021, because that was 9 episodes. So just saying, this one being only 6.5 hours compared to 10-ish, you're welcome. So I didn't realize that when I picked it, but yeah. So we started off I'll start off with this pretty much straight everything from the book, all filler cut out, which I like. My first big note that I noticed, and we'll get to it, but it's like they dropped off stuff that really wasn't needed, like the bitchy mother of Fran, like that whole subplot.
Mm-hmm.
And everything with the parlor and all that, just out the window. She's dead already. Been dead for a couple of years. Good. Very good cut. And there were several very good cuts. I actually don't think there was a cut in the miniseries throughout that wasn't just good. Wasn't like, okay, or I'm missing this. What about this scene or this?
Yeah, I have some notes like that as we go. So I was telling the guys, I have nothing of depth. I simply have malicious reactionary comments. I haven't read through them since I took them. So I'm not even sure I can tell you what they're in reference to.
That's fine.
Gotcha. So I have the Wikipedia page up here, and I'll kind of hit bullet points.
Awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Part 1 is the plague, and there's 4 parts in the miniseries. We're going to start with part 1, the plague. And my very first comment is the musical choice of "Don't Fear the Reaper" over the opening credits as we scroll through into where the military facility full of dead people. Huge fan.
Yeah.
If there's one thing I know about Melissa watching movies or TV shows, she always wants more action and more dead bodies. She feels that way about even books the same way, I think.
I'm a big fan of car chases and explosions too, but starting it with a room full of dead people, sold.
She's in.
With a really good song? Come on.
It's a really good song. That's a great song.
Speaking of the songs, go ahead.
Yep. Oh, no,
I would say, speaking of songs, as I was watching the credits and I was actually paying attention to this part, was, looking at all the people. The music's director, the person who put together the music and I don't know if he scored it or if he just compiled the music, was Snuffy Walden. Have you ever heard of Snuffy Walden?
I have not.
Snuffy Walden, who is like an acoustic guitar, like kind of folksy, was the person who created the orchestral overture for the West Wing TV show, having never worked with an orchestra or how to score or write music for an orchestra before. And like, I just love him because he's this like gray hair, old, like long haired hippie guy, and did all this big, orchestral music thing for the big West Wing presidential show and The Stand. So that hit me.
Yeah, he also did the theme music for My So-Called Life.
See?
Felicity, composition for the show Felicity. So he's got some credits to him, but Stand and West, the Stand and West Wing are the two like top ones that stand out to me. So all right, so we get as Dope for the Reaper's going, the shot through the base of people. They're not quite dead yet. They're dying at that point, and Campion gets the alarm going off and just busts through the gate and gone. I think it was. I like that scene. Well done. You kind of got the emergency of it, and you got the fear and everything, and even the way they played it up, because he was so far out. You're thinking, okay, he's safe. Like if you knew nothing about this story, it's like, okay, he's safe. He's not going to be the cause because he just seems so far detached, just right at the front gate. But nope. Fast forward to the actual opening credits, and Don't Fear the Reaper's going in. You see the aftermath of it.
I love the crows, the touch of the crows being in the shots of the opening, and as Campion drives away. I'm a huge fan of putting that in earlier than the book did. That was a change, right? We didn't have any mention of the walking dude, I think, in our first section that we read, I don't believe. So putting that hint of the supernatural early on, I appreciate it.
There might have been a really, really vague reference in the book in section 1, because people do start having dreams to some extent. And we knew about him before we knew about Mother Abigail, certainly in the book, but I don't remember specifically. But yeah, overall, I like the opening scenes. I thought they did a good job of just in general getting to the idea of, wow, shit's kind of hitting the fan, pretty quickly. And I think they get to the point quickly. And yeah, I felt like it makes it feel like there's a real problem going on and it's not going to be that simple to solve. They do a pretty good job of selling it as a very dangerous thing.
And I really liked the stuff in, what's the town? Stu's town. Arnett, Texas.
There you go.
I like how they did the Arnett stuff, and we got touches of the country, but it was very quick. I felt like cutting out a lot of those things. Not all of them, because
there's one that
some of them were phenomenal.
Yeah.
I have two that stand me out. I'm curious what yours are, because I will.
I'll just say all the things that were cut out, no great loss.
Yeah, there you go. That's well
I'll be
done.
Here all night.
Well
I'll be here all night.
So my two are casting things in the first part here. Kathy Bates.
That's one.
Absolutely. Being the radio host, so it's a nice callback to her Misery role. Kathy Bates, this is her this was actually, I think, her second Stephen King, but she also played Dolores Claiborne, later on. So she's definitely a queen of King. But the other one is Ed Harris as the general.
Yes, that's not the one I wrote down, but yes, I love Ed Harris just in general.
Yeah, like it took me, it's grainy quality even watching now, like this. And so like the first couple scenes he's in, you're like, is that Ed Harris? Like it took me a couple scenes to be like, wait a second, he looks old. He looks like old Ed Harris now, and this is 94. Like
Ed Harris is exactly the same. He doesn't age. Not really.
True.
I think it's the bald.
He was born that way.
Have you seen Westworld? Westworld, he's getting a little.
I don't watch Westworld. No. Okay. So I don't know current Ed Harris. I will say though, he was an excellent colonel, general, military head guy, responsible, because he has that gravitas to hold that kind of position while still being but I understand the boots on the ground life. That's just Ed Harris in general in his way he carries himself. So he was very good there. That was not the second like cameo, if you will, that I
Yeah.
found. My other cameo was the monster shouter of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Huge fan.
Yeah,
He
I
was
love that.
amazing.
And I didn't put that together that the monster shouter, like that's the role that he's playing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That okay. I get that. Yeah.
And I like that it was there, but quick. We didn't.
Yeah. It wasn't lingered on.
Yeah.
All right. So
I have so I like, do we want to talk about each of our people, like our big characters, and does anything stand out? Like, so Stu and then Franny and then Nick and Larry, or is there anything else I'm missing before we jump to them just in their introductions?
no, I think their introductions were all done well. Stu's was on point, like you said. It kind of introduced you to him. He was the leader of his band of little, Texans and everything. He's the one that jumped in to help. And then, we jump from him dying to the little cutaways. Then we start getting everybody else before they get taken away, even. Actually, I think they were taken away, but we don't know where they're going, or we don't see the end result. I think then, it jumps to Fran is the next one, or probably Larry.
I don't know if I care about being that specific to the order of the whole thing. That's just me.
Fran is set up perfectly as Fran should have been, as an under character, as a secondary important character, as compared to one of the top people, because that's the way she was written. It's just unfortunate she was written with more in depth, as being made to be like she was actually worth something, apart from just being the Fran. So the show made it, like I said, cut out a lot of the littler stuff, and it made her feel like, I don't know, just better as a character in this than in the book.
I hated her. I have a reason though.
Yeah.
Okay, so Harold Lauder drives me nuts, and I'm just going to talk about Franny as a whole in the first part. I'm not.
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the section, after there was all the dead people and people were dead and they were all just not dead, it was Franny and Harold hanging out. And oh my God, girl, you got to stop touching him and giggling. And she was way. Yes.
Yeah.
Like 100%.
Because if she had just been a human being a human in a room with another human, then her, oh my God, Harold stuff later might have actually been. And part of me is she directed to do that. And because that was what girls were in movies and TV and in books. And I very much feel it was less about Molly Ringwald's choices and more about the expectation of what girls do 30 years ago, 20 years ago. God, long time ago. Oh no. Sorry, that hurt. I was in high school. It's fine. It was wrong of that character to do that to that impressionable kid. And in the book, that didn't happen.
Right. It was all one-sided.
She kept her distance in the book. You're right. You are correct.
That was a problem for me.
Fair. No, that's completely valid. Harold, good introduction to him. You may, because again, if you don't know nothing about the story itself, up front, he actually comes across as a nerdy kind of dorky guy, but somebody you could kind of trust until we meet him run into Stu. That's where his darkness first really shows, at least in the show wise. Book wise, it never shows, up until that point as well, out in the open. It's always from Fran's perspective that he's creepy and the weird kid. But show wise, they don't play that up until we run into Stu. And I kind of appreciate that slower build on Harold. Instead of being told this is the way Harold is, we get to see how, don't tell, show, kind of thing. And I prefer that aspect to the novel itself. So Larry, we get to meet Larry and his mom.
Okay, I have a comment about his mother.
Okay.
Larry's in his 20s, right? Late 20s, but in his 20s. Why is it that when they show men who are in their early 20s and even late 20s, their mothers look ancient? I had I just had a huge problem. Again, I get it. It's because I have a kid who's, closing in on 20 and I don't look that old. I don't look that old. I might be old, but I don't like gray and wrinkled and haggard. And I get, right? Larry's mom was supposed to be worn down and hardworking and kind of bent from her years of service as
Could
a
have been a late,
housekeeper. I
late in
get
life
it.
birth.
We don't know that.
I'm
We
saying could
don't
have
know
been.
that. But we don't know
don't know
that.
it's
But
not.
that's always assumed. That is like how moms are cast. And it bothers me. That is all. That, like I said, Melissa's random thoughts has nothing to do with the actual story. I just don't appreciate that kind of casting. Continue.
That's fair. All right, then we meet Nick Andros walking on the
On-
road.
sorry,
Oh, go ahead, Luke.
on Larry.
Sure.
We really kind of skip like his back stuff too in California. Like we really don't have much of like the
Yes.
drug dealer's gonna come and kill him and stuff. Like that's I think fluff that for this story not really needed. Like we get to know Larry throughout his journey as opposed to so it's less of a trying to be a redemptive arc for him, which is what it seems like the book tries to do. It's more of just, hey, this is him, and this is how he's dealing with everything, which I kind of liked. It just seemed forced in the book at times, where it's like Larry's struggling with being a douchebag a long time ago, and it's like he wasn't that douchey. Like he was fine. He was just made some dumb choices because he got success and was an idiot. But like,
and
it
they
gets
kind of
rid his
allude to
guilt
that.
part.
They allude to that when he's talking to his mom, that she's like, "So you're in trouble?" He's like, "Well, I kind of spent all my money and in a hole." So they kind of played that up a bit, but it's not like the deep dark. And yeah, you're right. For this, it absolutely works. And like you said, it's not a redemptive arc on this. It's more of a thrust into leadership, unwantedly.
Right.
Like that's more of the story they're going with Larry here, because they don't. Because that's the story they tell with Stu, realistically in the book. But in here, Stu's always the leader. Like he never questions it. He's always just like, okay, I guess we're gonna do this, and never have that self-doubt. We get that self-doubt from Larry in part 2 or 3, whatever. When he's asked to join the council. But from Stu, so they kind of shifted, the arcs a bit from the characters, which in this trimmed down feeling, it works. So all right, so moving on to Nick Andros in Arkansas. He gets beat up, gets woken up in the jail. Oh, who is the sheriff? The sheriff was somebody.
He was
Troy
well
Evans.
Let's talk can we go with Nick Andros as Rob Lowe?
Yes.
Come on now.
It
I
works.
love Rob Lowe, another West Wing alum. That's
It works.
Just the two.
Yeah, I was fine with, like, when I first watched this, I was like, okay, it's Rob Lowe. Like, because there are talking parts. You can't hire an actual deaf actor.
I know, but he was in his 30s. He was way too old.
He was not in his 30s.
In 1994, he absolutely was.
He might have been
30s.
30. He might have been 30.
There's no way he was still in his 20s, because he was in his 20s in 1985. Just 10 years before that.
Born March 17th, 1964. He was 30.
He was 30. He was too old to play 22-year-old Nick Andros.
Technically 29 when it was filmed.
Still too old to play Nick Andros. Too old.
Anyway, but it worked. I liked him because he can emote. He does do good facial acting, and so he can emote and express himself without having to say anything. And I liked his performance of it. All right, so from there in part 1, I'm trying to get to here. They're taken to Stovington, and we meet the doctors and everything in there. I like that they kept the scene of Stu faking the cough, freaking the doctor out, and whatever. He's like, just mess with you, man. And like the doctor was purely petrified. Well, just well acted. Well, just a funny scene that was like, or a funny bit in a serious scene that definitely helped lighten the mood. All right. Next, nothing on those. All right, I'll keep moving. Franco Smith's unborn child, her teenage neighbor Harold. All right.
Did we know? I'm sorry. I'm going to ask a question. You just said about Fran's unborn child. So I watched part 1 weeks and weeks ago, and then the rest of it within the last week. And when Fran told Stu she was pregnant, I kid you not, like 3 minutes beforehand, started writing a note that said, God, I'm glad they got rid of that storyline. And then she's like, well, it'll hurt the baby. And I was like, well, fuck, I missed something. So did she say in part one that she was pregnant? Like I missed the whole thing?
Nope, because it's supposed to be her telling her dad, and the only conversation with the dad is him making fun of her for Harold. But before that, she asked about Jesse, and she's like, "I don't think me and Jesse are going to work out." And that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
I was very thrown off. I was like, I was doing so good, but I realized that's more of a part two thing. But
no, that's fair. I mean, because part one, I was actually thinking the same thing. But yeah, she never mentioned it or anything like that until Stu made the comment. So moving on, we go to Arizona and we get Lloyd Henreid and Poker.
Miguel Ferreira.
Yeah.
I like him. He was a good Lloyd.
I thought Lloyd was excellent in this, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I felt he was like, and I know that was the whole point. He wasn't dumb enough in the scenes with Poke as much as I would have wanted him to be. Like, because Henry Ferreira, yeah, I like his later Lloyd compared to the first intro. I want him to be dumber, I guess, to show that big change that Flag has on him later on in life or later on in their adventure. But still, very minor, very, hindsight kind of thing. So we get that scene. Well done on that. And then we get Trash Can Man, Trashy, climbing the barrels in Indiana, the oil tankers, and didn't have to know much about him. Got his whole backstory in one voiceover, pretty much. Instead of
I think that was good.
Yep, 19-page chapter cut down to literally 3 sentences in a voiceover. Done.
I thought he was amazing too. I was a huge fan of the Trash Can actor.
That is Trash Can Man, Matt Frewer.
Sure.
I been in
like he was
things.
familiar looking, but not so. Oh my god, I remember you. But yeah, huge fan of him. I thought he did a good job.
He was in Honey and the Shrunk the Kids. There you go.
I know when I first started
he was the neighbor.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Benji and I, we were hanging out after I first started watching this first part. And I got to about that part, like the first night that I watched. That's about an hour and 15 minutes in or so, maybe a little bit further. And I like that was like the lasting thing that I had over the first part that I just was like, Benji, I really like Trashy. I really like his introduction. He does a great job of selling the character without being gimmicky, which you could easily fall into like really cheesy version of that. And it's done tastefully, I thought, in a way that it sells the character without relying on tropes of an unstable person. Like it just shows him doing his thing in his element, just like the book does, I thought. We don't have his inner monologue like we have with the book, but I really thought they did a good job of introducing his character to where in the first 35 seconds, you know exactly who he is. Like you get it. Like you get his part that he probably will end up playing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So from there, we meet the survivors begin having visions, either of a kindly Mother Abigail or demonic Darkman, Randall Flagg, Dreams Council, survivors, Nebraska. Larry, go ahead, Melissa. Sorry.
Random thoughts. Is it just me, or does the Mother Abigail house and cornfield set really look like the Oklahoma movie, where it's obviously being filmed in like a movie set and not?
It sounds.
Yes, I couldn't get past it.
And it even had that weird sepia tone tint to it.
Yep.
Just to make sure you knew it's Nebraska. Like it's not Kansas, it's Nebraska. So it's a little less sepia tone than Wizard of Oz,
Except
or a little
all I could think was the really bad ballet sequence in Oklahoma, which I always fast forward through. But that's what it felt like. And
so
that's it goes to my overall thought later on. But
my personal feelings on that, because I agree, it's very obvious, and it kind of looks like poor quality because it's so obvious. But for me, since it's a dream sequence, I can look past it. It
And
doesn't
it
bother
was
me in that condition.
except it was the same when
know,
they got
I
there
know.
in real life.
I know.
So I really
We hadn't gotten there
appreciate-
yet. We hadn't gotten there yet. So that's why I'm like,
Okay. Yes. Okay.
At
For
this
part
point,
one,
it didn't bother
that's
me.
and again, that's again why it reminded me of Oklahoma, because the extended ballet sequence is sepia toned in a soundstage cornfield as a dream.
Okay.
So, all right. Moving
If you
on
can't
to
say
try
anything
to.
nice, I'm just gonna
Yeah.
sit here and stare at my wall.
All right. So Lloyd is captured, taken to prison, and he is freed from prison. We don't get the pure desperation out of Lloyd, but again, have to cut stuff down, which is fine. But free by Flag, who takes him on. Then we have Larry up in New York, who comes across a mysterious woman named Nadine Cross. So this is a big change. They took out the
Rita.
suicidal Rita, thank you, and put Nadine in here. And in part one is where he still meets Joe or that might have been
Lucy.
part two.
Nope.
It's-
Was that
that's
part
That's
one?
part two. Yep, that's later.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I figured.
Because Nadine and Larry do the tunnel instead of Larry and Rita.
Right.
Yes.
I thought it was a great change to
Me
abbreviate a
too.
lot. I mean, we didn't really miss, no great loss not having Rita, but you have the same feelings that Larry has to deal with, and we get a little bit of history between those two characters, Larry and Nadine, that set up things later much better, as opposed to, well, she kind of was interested in Larry for a little while, and then like the stupid back and forth. It just simplified a lot, in my opinion.
I also really appreciated that using Rita's version of crazy as an underlying warning about Nadine. I thought that was really smart, rather than her just being like this normal person that you meet in post-apocalyptic world. And which also cut out some of the crazy Joe stuff, which I'm fine with, because it didn't drive a story other than maybe to help Larry be a little more adult by giving him this child to help be responsible for. But he was, once he got Lucy anyway. So I liked that. I was just a huge fan of this. Streamlined a bunch.
Absolutely.
And Laura San Giacomo, I know I'm mispronouncing that name, but oh my God. Giacomo, perfect Nadine. Like,
yep.
I've always thought of her as two roles, this one and her role from Just Shoot Me, and like both of them, I absolutely love her as an actress, and I was like, oh hell yeah. And then we didn't talk about the Larry actor who couldn't tell you, Adam Stork. Don't know if he's actually done anything, but he actually did a good job on this. I'll give him credit.
He was a
decent
big
Larry.
nothing for me.
Larry is kind of a big
I don't
nothing.
know.
Yeah, Larry is a big
No.
nothing.
Except I thought he would be a cooler on the surface.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like, yes, on the inside, Larry kind of is a big nothing, but he's supposed to be a rock star. And that guy just didn't have.
But he's a new rock star.
But even new rock stars, there's this like weird false swagger that it would. I don't know. I was not a huge fan of Larry, especially considering we didn't mention him. But I mean, Stu is freaking, what's his name?
Gary
Stu
Gary
is
Sinise.
Gary
Sinise,
Sinise.
yeah.
It's freaking Captain Dan and
Lieutenant
got-
Dan.
Lieutenant Dan.
whatever. It's like he played no legs with gusto, and I just like it's hard to match between Rob Lowe and Gary Sinise, and even though the character's really annoying, Molly Ringwald and their star quality. And yeah, I get like coming in and being like the newer guy, but Larry doesn't hold water
Sure.
compared to even against Nadine and against like Mother Abigail and
Randall
I just-
Flagg and
Randall. Well, I'm not going to talk about him, but Lloyd. Like, I just don't think that casting was on point.
Fair. Yeah, I can see that. I would like thinking about it, and just with Rob Lowe in that role, I would think a Judd Judd Nelson. Is that who I'm thinking?
Yes.
Kind of from Breakfast Club.
Yes.
Like get the old Brad Pack. Yeah.
Exactly.
Get someone like that.
That's
Or-
the
or,
piece you're missing.
Robert Downey Jr. Actually, he was a little big by this point to do this, but he would have been a good part in that role at that time. So, all right. So moving on from there, we have
I knew
them
you went
going. They
Emilio
do this.
Estevez. I think that's who you go with for later into it.
He's not rocker enough. He's not
But
rocker
he
enough.
could
He
be.
could play it though.
Charlie Sheen.
Charlie
could be.
Sheen would be. for
Charlie
sure.
Sheen would have been. Yeah.
They were both
That's what I'm
pretty
saying,
big.
like,
they were both big.
There were lots of options. Tom Cruise. Not he was too big. I know, but
Yeah.
that is a huge time stamp for really well-known or really
You might not know this,
popular
but
actors.
Adam Stork was also in an episode of Tales from the Crypt, so it doesn't get much bigger than that. So it was in
Fair.
there.
You got anything else for me from him?
He's
I mean,
most
props to
well
him for getting the
known
role.
for playing the love interest of Julia Roberts in the 1988 film Mystic Pizza. There you go.
was
Oh,
in
that's
Phantom of the
probably why
Opera.
he got it.
He was
I
also
see
in
that
Phantom of the
in-
Opera. Yeah.
What's
New.
his
I
most
knew
recent thing?
Amsterdam. Broadway's finest in 2012.
He was in one episode of Westworld as Sophisticated Man.
Hmm.
Fair.
Okay.
All right.
Broadway's finest. Does that mean he was on Broadway?
No, it's a film. Like,
I'm just saying.
oh, I got you. Probably not.
Nope.
I have no idea
Nope.
what them.
Nope. See, like, yeah. Sorry, Adam. I appreciate your life as a working actor.
Sure he lived happily, or I'm sure he's living happily. All right. So we get Nadine being told psychopath. This is telepathically from Randy to leave Larry after the tunnel, and so she
Are we
takes
in
off.
part 2 now?
I
This is part 2.
I don't have. I'm literally following the wiki.
I think the
so-
tunnel is the end of part 1. I think.
Okay.
I don't remember
think so,
specifically, but
yes.
it's right around there, certainly.
Yeah, because I don't even think Stu had left Stovington by the end. So okay, so we're into part 2, which was titled. Does anybody remember part 2?
No.
I can find it here in a few seconds here.
I mean, I've got the IMDb up. Hold, please.
I see if we can get it first.
Episodes.
The dreams. The dreams.
There.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is
my
the
biggest
dreams.
thing with this opening is Nadine making out with Larry was gross.
Okay.
This part I do not approve. Like, I sort of get that was like the Rita whatever, but no, I'm not.
I don't recall it. I'm not even gonna like it.
I don't remember.
It didn't stand up. Yeah.
Oh, good, because it wasn't pretty. It was very desperate, and she was like, "Oh, yes, but no," and then he was like, "Okay," and then she flipped out, and I think that's when she left because
Yeah.
she like disappeared. Okay. It might have been on the July 4th day. Like that might have been the turn
Yes.
they went. Instead of Rita being dead on July 4th, it was they made
wakes
out
up
and
and
she
she's
freaked out
gone.
and left.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. So I think that's kind of where the beginning of this.
Yes. And then we jump back to Trash Can Man, who's in Iowa, burning in Des Moines, Iowa, burning the city to the ground.
Bumpity bumpity bump.
Bumpty bumpty bump. And he gets the call to Vegas.
My life for you.
Go west, young man. Go west.
Yes. Stu gathers a group of survivors, including Franny. So I guess after escaping the CDC facility, so yeah, Stu makes his great escape.
So they
Basically,
did a good job of basically. There's a lot
Yeah.
of things that are verbatim in this. Like this is exactly how it
Yes.
happens in the book for the most part. Like they keep it. I think this is kind of hinting at what Melissa was saying earlier. With King involved in the teleplay, the writing of it, then there's a lot of things that are not really changed. There's not really an interpretation. It's just this is how it is. Like this is just the scene.
So there are pros and cons to this, right? That's meeting Glenn. Check. Right? Meeting
Yeah.
Franny and Harold. Check. Now, it doesn't happen while Stu has left Glenn. He is still with Glenn and they come. Totally cool with that. Tom Cullen decorating the town and the line for line of everybody left and went to Kansas City, except for my mom. She went to heaven. But why did everybody go to Kansas City? Are we going to go to Kansas City? Like all of those things. And those are good things for the most part. But also you can tell there are certain beats like that that don't really matter. That King was like, they have to be here. Little teeny tiny things. Like I can't even I don't know. I can't. There's some things that I'm like, was it really necessary for the camping scene on July 4th? Did that have to be a camping scene? I'm not saying it wasn't good, but knowing what I know about Stephen King and how much he dislikes adaptations of his things that go too far one way or the other, and I put this in my book, so like I feel like this is really important. Is it?
Yeah, like the Stovington return. Was that really? I mean, maybe it was a little
Right.
necessary to get Franny to see what Stu had gone through.
And to
That's the
see
only thing I could
Harold's
justify.
reaction to it, to have him
That too.
act like a total whiny bitch and then get kind of slapped in the face with, yeah, I wasn't fucking lying, bro. Like, I
Right.
told
Yeah.
you. Like,
I,
At least they did it. It was a quick,
it
you
was
know,
quick.
just outdoor, which was fine.
and I will say in general, my biggest note from part 2 is big fan of all this being quick. Thank you for cutting out all of the Franny journaling. Now, I am not a huge fan of how quickly the Stu, Harold, Fran triangle thing developed. Like, because it was cut short, that went from 0 to 60 in 5.2 seconds, and I got whiplash. But whatever, it was too fast and it wasn't good. But if the alternative was adding more time of, and then everybody drove across the country, and here's more people driving across the country, I will take that
glad
change.
they tried to cut as much of the stupid love triangle stuff out. Like, they definitely show that Harold's not happy about it, but we don't need to dwell on it. Like, we get it.
Yes.
Like, I'm never a big fan of that shit in movies or books. It's just like, you don't need it here. It's not. We don't need it.
Mhm.
And as much as I like Molly Ringwald, I don't need to have a 4-minute voiceover of her, you know, narrating what she's writing. And I'm thankful that, you know, you're absolutely right. So yeah, let's talk about Tom. We get introduced to him. This is Tom Cullen to me. Like, he is absolutely the perfect Tom Cullen, in my opinion. Not Bull. Fuck, I forget his name from
Coach.
I know. I'm trying to remember his name on the show, but he's like I remember, because I do remember I saw this before long ago, and I remember him as this role, and even reading the book before I watched it the second time after reading the book for the first time a couple years ago. I'm like, I pictured this guy as Tom Cullen, you know, just from deep recessed memory. Where the hell?
Dauber?
Tom Cullen. Bill Flagerbach.
Dauber. Yep.
Flagerbach.
Dauber.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, Dauber was.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. Dauber. Oh, and he was Broadway in Gargoyles. Come on now.
Was he? That's cool.
Yeah. That
Nice.
makes absolute sense. Yeah.
He was really good in this.
Well,
because
and
this
he's
is
also
a hard
Patrick
part
Star.
to play.
He's Patrick Star from SpongeBob.
SpongeBob. Yeah.
Patrick?
Uh-huh.
That's amazing.
Is this the
Patrick.
Krabby Patty? Is this the Krabby Patty? No, this is Patrick.
I was just watching that today with Griffin. That was awesome.
He's one of those guys that you just see him on screen, you just want to hug him because he just plays like lovable doofs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot he was in Oz. That's oh shit, yeah, dude. This guy, the lovable doof that is just perfect,
Yep.
and you get the feel. You automatically feel for him, like when you said, "Everyone to Kansas City. Are we going to Kansas City?" And you're just like, "Oh yeah." And then you meet Julie Lowry. Julie fucking Lowry, perfectly cast too, like that. A little old.
What else has she been in? Like, I don't
Johnny
know.
Smith. She's been in several things.
Yeah, I know. I couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, it
Saw,
was one of
Saw
those that
is a big one. Yeah. Sorry.
That's okay.
Go ahead. Didn't mean to
I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, no, I know her from Saw. She's Amanda in the Saw series. But she was like to me a little old in for this role. She was in like 20s and Julie's supposed to be like a 16, 17-year-old, just whatever. And but again, you can't pick,
She was loud and her voice was annoying enough to be a good Julie. So I was a big fan of
yes.
that part of her playing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And but no, so we get that scene, and that was scene was perfectly done. Just the vitriol from the written note of "We don't need you." Like Rob Lowe's facial expression was just shoved in her face. Just again, the mime acting was on point. All right. So from
Gotta talk
there,
about Randall. Can we talk about Randall Flagg? Are we on
go
Randall
right
yet?
ahead. We
I
that's where I just got to. Yep.
Perfect. I dislike him. And I don't mean like, oh, I dislike the character. I don't like this actor.
The
I
portrayal.
don't like the hair. I just he didn't do it for me as the bad guy. He wasn't scary.
Well, and that was the thing about Randall. He was never supposed to be scary. He was like in the sense of my thing is, and it's later on, but the more shifts in the demonic and all that, I think that was overdone. It's more of a natural, like you just want an average looking, but a little bit above average looking guy that can be charming and everything, but is just not keeping it together. I'm not saying like this actor's portrayal of it. It wasn't my favorite or my ideal, but I think he did okay. In the role, it wasn't great, but
I mean,
Not my favorite.
the Canadian tuxedo that he wore for most of it was pretty awesome. That was very 1994. So, yeah, I was just ready for him to boot, scoot, and buggy or something. So, I feel like he came right out of the movie Roadhouse. Like he's just one of those douches in that movie. One of the bad guys.
yeah.
Great movie, by the way.
All right,
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Roadhouse.
Okay.
Roadhouse.
No.
Is that what you said, Luke?
Yeah, how's about Roadhouse?
Yeah, Roadhouse. Yeah. All right. So we're moving on down. CTC. Nick ends up in May, Oklahoma, and meets Tom Cullen, and they then meet Ralph Brentner. I believe that's the end of part. Or do they make it to Abigail?
They make it to
okay.
Abby.
Okay.
We have a little bit more. So we make it, they meet Ralph Brentner and we actually make it to Hemingford home. Yes, Hemingford home.
Yes.
And my real only comment of that scene, other than the reprise of my part one comment of still looks like a movie set, corn, it's real hard to fake corn in a cornfield, says this Midwesterner. So whatever, I want to see some corn. You can take us to Vegas and make it look like real Vegas. How about you just stick us in front of a cornfield and make it look like a real cornfield? Okay, besides that, I really appreciate that there was only 2 scenes in this whole thing that had any sort of like clothes removal for the most part. One was later on with Lloyd's sort of girlfriend when we get to some problems with her. But Rob Lowe took his shirt off.
That was in the contract. He just wrote that in. I must be shirtless.
Or somebody was like, so we're gonna hire Rob Lowe.
And he can't talk?
And at some point,
Perfect.
we're gonna need him to take his clothes off. Well, you know what? It's primetime TV and we gotta get it back past the network censors. So how about just a shirt? And they're like, well, okay, but how many seconds can it be off? What? How stupid! I'm sorry.
They know the audience. They know the audience is going to be at least because again, another scene we get once Nina gets into the Nadine. Thank you.
That's the one.
Gets into the desert. So it's the counterbalance. The women get episode 2. With that one, and then
No, women don't get it. Like it was just one of those
Come
unnecessary
on.
things. It was so stupid.
ABC, come on.
Ugh. Whatever.
Gratuitous.
I really like Mother Abigail.
I thought it was done well.
I like, really old woman. Check. I thought she did a good job.
Yeah, I agree. I don't really have
Yeah.
too many problems with her.
That was
other
Ruby
than
D.
Problems I had with her
Turn.
character in general. So I thought she'd portrayed the character well.
Yeah. Hell, she's how old is that actress? I know that she obviously aged up, but born in 1922, and her
Alright.
last film
So-
credit,
So,
her last film credit was 2013. So
When she was 91.
Yep,
well,
She's
she
still
did
alive.
die. No, she did
Oh.
die in 2014. So, but just saying, this film she did when at 72 years old.
pretty
So,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So
anyway, so on to part 3, which
No.
is
no.
nope. we
Part
go
2
on to part
ends
two.
in Vegas. Trashy
Trashy.
ends part 2. And they cut things from Trashy. The same things
Yes.
that got cut in King's first
Mhm.
major cut of his book. We did not get any more Trashy
Yeah. The
travel.
kid.
And again, not that we needed a lot of it, but I missed a little bit of how much he went through on his own traveling by himself.
Mm-hmm.
I get it, but I think we lose a little bit of sympathy for him by losing a little bit of his heartache and hardship.
I agree with that. It kind of makes him a little bit more one-dimensional in this. It's a little easier just to, yeah. Whenever I was saying the introduction was done really well, I think the utilization throughout kind of tapers off how well they did with that.
Yeah. And there's only so much you can do. So I understand. And I think the stuff with the kid would not have passed the ABC network censors at all.
Yeah.
So I understand.
Right.
I missed it. And then I have another production complaint. Trashy walked us into Vegas. And it looked like Vegas. It did. It looked like Vegas, especially like 1980s, 1990s, like leaving Las Vegas and Con Air when they land the airplane in Vegas. Like it looked like Vegas.
Mhm.
Big fan. Here's my problem. The neon lights were on in Vegas, as they were in the book when we walked into Vegas. And the neon lights being on in Vegas was a major point that non-book readers would not have caught. It bothered me that as a book reader, I understand the significance of seeing the lights on the strip in
Mhm.
Vegas because we hadn't seen lights in months. But here is a town that has the electricity on.
Mhm. And
I
a
feel
lot
like
of
there
it.
was a lot, and I wouldn't say the word extraneous, but I really just mean something that's like over the top and
a
unnecessary.
gaudy amount of electricity.
Egregious amount, yeah, like an unnecessary amount
Yeah.
of electricity.
Mhm. And they can do that. They can flaunt it.
There was an opportunity lost to not show the lack of electricity and the lack of gas pumps and the lack of working grocery stores. Again, big fan of cutting all the travel, but something was missing. Like that was the piece that was missing when we cut the travel was how do I live without anything in the
Mhm.
modern conveniences?
I agree.
So that the ending of this episode with the Vegas lights should have been so much cooler.
I agree. It could have been a really simple thing of just showing them getting turned on at one point and be like, okay, well, they got it. Boom. Don't spend much time on it, or even just mention it like Trashy. The lights are on. Awesome. Like just like something like there's a simple way you could do it. I agree with that. They do mention it later on in Boulder that, hey, we're getting the power on, or we just did. But
I
like
know.
the
Too
opportunity,
late.
The whole thing.
I agree with you, Melissa.
Well, but the thing is, at the start of part 3, we see as Trashy's kind of getting cleaned up and fixed up, the people already going to work to clean up the street and everything, all the flags people. So it's kind of implied that he has people under fucking lock and stock to just get to work. So and the lights were on when Trashy got to Vegas originally. When he first got to Vegas, the lights were already on in the book wise. So it
Yes,
makes
that's
sense.
what I said.
Okay.
I said that. What I said was the fact that other people traveling across the country were not shown up to this point in the dark without electricity. We
Gotcha.
did not get the buildup of what life was like without electricity. So if I am a casual viewer watching this and I don't know the book, me walking into Vegas is just me walking into Vegas like everything else
fair.
I watch on TV.
Yeah. Fair.
What's missing is the understanding of this is such an anomaly compared to the rest of the current world in The Stand.
Mhm.
That, yeah, absolutely. I missed your point on that, so I apologize. But yeah, excellent point.
And now it's part 3.
The
Now
betrayal.
part 3, which is the betrayal. Yes.
May 11th, 1994 is when this was released.
It starts with the unsuccessful operation in the dark
Yes.
with lanterns.
Yep.
Just saying. I liked the operation.
Yeah, I like that. It got in there. They didn't worry too much about having spend a whole lot of time on it. They got to get to the point. I do like that. It doesn't work, and you see Stu frustrated by that, right? And he's clearly in the throes. The adrenaline's up, trying to get this done, and they kind of pull him off. And it was just a nice moment, I think, for him, because we haven't seen a ton of Stu, like, for real, like, at least compared to what I felt like we had in the book. We spent a lot more time with him. We've had maybe we just haven't talked about it here too, but I thought Gary Sinise, obviously great actor, did a pretty good job with this character, and to me he didn't seem as overpowered in the movie as he did in the book, where he was just like perfect all the time. And not that there were many super flaws, but most people didn't really have that many super obvious flaws if they were one of kind of the chosen characters. Everyone was a little bit more one-dimensional in general. Because we don't spend the time in everyone's inner monologue to learn more about them. But I don't think the story suffers because of that, for how much ground they cover in this, in even 6 hours. So
Agreed.
I like Gary Sinise.
Yeah.
To me, knowing how he portrayed it, I think was the reason when we were reading the book and you were like, Stu seems perfect. I'm like, no, I'm good. Because to me, he is Gary. Like, he's a great Stu, because there is just that level of unsurety underneath him. But what's the being brave isn't, just doing something, it's being scared, but doing it anyway.
Yeah.
Can a man be brave if he's scared? It's the only time a man can be brave.
Yep. Yeah. So we also get some scenes of flags control in Vegas, as we talked about. We start seeing some of the crucifixions, or people being hung up for crimes and such, or addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I know we get more broad one in the next episode, or a more direct one. But start seeing that, and we also get Harold's resentment starting to come out more and more. We get the council meeting with Stu leading it, and Harold stands up and does a proclamation, gets everybody voted on. And I like Glenn's line. I don't even know if it's from the book or if this was just a new line added, but Glenn was like, son of a bitch did it better than I could have ever planned. It was something like, there was like, give credit where credit's due. It's like, fucking hell. Like, he saw what was coming from it. But I just like that little offshoot line that I don't think was the book. And by the way, Glenn's actor, oh my God, Mr. Hand, from Fast Times at Ridgemont High. That was Mr. Hand from that. And yeah, that a perfect actor for that role. Anyway, just wanted to
I've never seen that. I know. I feel like I have failed as a 90s kid not knowing that movie.
Ray Waltz then.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, he was amazing. I was a huge fan of him as.
And actually, I think he was in Picket Fences too.
He was also in Popeye.
Oh yeah, sure enough. And Mice and Men with Gary Sinise as well.
See. All right.
But
Can I complain about Harold for a minute?
By all means.
Now, I'm not saying that this has absolutely nothing to do with the script, so it does not matter where we are in the course of this is a production issue. Harold Lauder is supposed to be a pimply, overweight kid, right?
He was pimply in part 1.
He had 4 pimples that were badly placed on by the makeup department. And by part 3, he didn't have those 4 pimples anymore. Here's the deal. I get that this is a made for TV movie. I get it, right? We don't have the production value that we have of, say, like Forrest Gump, also made in 1994, by the way. So it's not like it's, oh, this was made so long ago. No, like this is the same as, okay. But this is the same production that did Trashy's makeup, who looked amazing. So I don't know what kind of second-rate assistant makeup Yahoo was in charge of Harold, but some supervisor should have like looked at that the production design and said, hey, can we think through this a little bit? I don't know. It was a terrible characterization that I feel like could have been done better.
It was.
Ooh, he's supposed to have pimples in the book, therefore he's got to have pimples. But did he need them at all if they were going to look that bad?
True, but it got the point across. He was a pimply kid, you know, and all that. And then by part 3, they were gone, like you said. But that's also what happened in the book because he started working out, eating healthier.
But none of that was mentioned. This is the kind of thing I was talking about with the Stephen King thing. Harold has to have pimples at the beginning. Everybody make sure Harold has pimples at the beginning. So some second-rate makeup artist threw on a couple of pimples. Okay, he loses them, but nowhere in the script or anywhere in the story told on screen explains any of that. That was not given. But that's the kind of thing that I meant with when we are hitting every single point in the book. We are hitting every single point in the book, even if it was completely pointless. There was no reason for that because there was no payoff for it later. It was one of those Chekhov's guns that didn't actually get used. What was the purpose of doing it when it was never actually of value to the story they told on screen, other than to pay homage to the book, but done badly.
The only thing done badly was the pimples. It was the pimple makeup, and you're right.
Right.
But
So
beyond
then
that,
why do it?
It did tell the point, though, because when he got to Boulder, he was growing, and like then he could have a woman like Nadine come to him, and him not be so insecure about it because now he feels.
But you
more
only
confident.
know that because you read the book. My point
understand,
is,
but
people who
yes.
didn't, it was
Show
unnecessary.
don't tell, but it's one of those show don't tell. It's, you know, you can see the progression if you're closely paying attention. He had pimples when they first left, and now he's cleaned up. He's, you know, a little nicer looking and everything like that. So it's more without having
leather
to.
jacket. I mean,
Yeah.
Come on, how cool.
To me, that's a better character development than his
Right.
3 pimples. Do you know what I mean? There was a
get
way
it.
to do it that was a better visual design based on the medium you're using. It made sense in the book because we could get paragraphs of descriptions. On screen, it didn't translate well, and that is blatantly for the more casual viewer.
Fair.
I thought his leather jacket looked really stupid, personally.
I
I
mean,
thought it looked terrible.
I think Harold was really stupid. I was not a huge fan of the actor playing Harold, but I also don't like Harold in general. So I thought that was maybe just me being
It was
holding Harold against
fine.
him.
I would call it one of the weaker characters that was portrayed.
Yeah, that's fair. He's a good actor, Corin Nemec. He's been in several things on CIS and a few other shows as Offs and Starving had a 12-episode run. But anyway, yeah, no, he's not a bad actor, but yeah, just not a great portrayal of Harold. All right, moving on. So we have the talk of the spies or the informants or whatever they want to be called. With that, nothing really happens. We know the story. They pick Tom, the judge, and Dana. We don't see Dana at all. It's just a random pick of Lucy's, who was added to because Lucy wasn't originally on the council, correct? It wasn't Lucy on the
Lucy's
council.
not on the council. Lucy is simply hosting and helping,
Okay.
and like as part of the.
Because it's just at their house. Like
It was yeah, that's right. It was the woman who was the girlfriend, wife of the guy who died from appendicitis, Sue, or right?
Oh, is that how they brought her in? Was it? Did
She
they
was
make
there.
Sue Stern the
Sue
girlfriend instead of that? Okay.
Yep.
Oh, they cut
Yeah.
out that whole thing with the traveling zoo.
Yeah.
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 they
That was
did cut
probably
that
gonna
out.
be-
Stupid ABC
Right.
network
That would have been cut,
censors.
certainly. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
that makes
certainly wouldn't have
sense.
made it. Same thing as the kid.
I kind
There's-
of miss that
I
because I
agree.
missed that girl power thing that came out of it, which made Dana as cool as she was. But
ABC's
I get
not
it.
doing girl power. Get it? Come on, not in
Not in
1994.
1994.
No, that's not.
I mean,
Always
I'm not saying
Boys
they're
Club.
doing it now, but
Always Boys
Al-
Club. Yeah.
Anyway, so that they get sent off. We do get the good scene of Tom being hypnotized. I did like that they did it with the whole council instead of just Stu and Nick and Ralph there. I like that there was the whole council there having to take that responsibility upon them.
I loved his house.
Yeah.
Tom's house. Tom's house was amazing. Big
You
fan.
would.
Right
big fan.
before that scene actually was the scene of Nadine arriving in Boulder. Just because my notes are in that order. So do we have anything else about Tom being hypnotized before I jump back to Nadine arriving? I have a thought there.
No, nothing in particular.
Okay, so I'm a huge fan of Nadine showing up without Larry, right? Like I'm totally cool with how that happens. Nadine comes,
With
right?
Teddy.
Yes, there, fine, and comes and like I like the little moment of Mother Abigail listening to the CB, which Ralph had always like. We see off screen in the book. Ralph says, "Oh, she likes sitting and listening to the CB as the new people are coming in." So I like that they incorporated that again. All those little nods to the book that felt like, "Oh, we got to fit this in because it's in the book." But I liked that. I liked the caravan of cars coming in, and I think the scene with Nadine meeting Mother Abigail and that power struggle that happened there of good versus evil. I actually really liked it. I thought it was well done. I think I liked all those things. But there was this horrendous music choice happening.
Come on,
And
Snuffy.
come on, Snuffy. All I could think was this could have been really good, but this is just god awful. I can't get past it. And it's actually like a good scene that I am enjoying, I think. So
That music choice is probably why, Snuffy Walden was only nominated but didn't win Outstanding Music Composition for a miniseries.
yeah, I would have voted against him for that moment.
Yeah,
alone.
he was
Real
nominated,
sorry,
didn't
Snuffy.
win. But
Who did?
I don't know. I just know that he just says nominated. Gary Sinise
Okay.
was nominated for a Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Performance by a Male Actor in a Television or Movie miniseries.
Also didn't win.
Also didn't win. They did win 3. They won an RTOS Award for Best Miniseries Casting, and then they won 2 Primetime Emmy
Yes.
Awards for Outstanding Makeup. That's all Harold Lauder.
That's got to be trashy. That's got to be
It's
trashy.
Harold for
It
sure.
was the pimples.
And they did also win an Emmy for Outstanding Sound Mixing for a miniseries or movie.
Huh?
I can see that.
Yeah,
They were nominated for a few
Sound
other
mixing
things.
is not the same as
yeah, true.
No.
Yeah, no, I know.
No,
Yeah,
Outstanding
you never
Music
had like weird
Composition
audio
they
levels.
were nominated
Yeah.
for.
all right.
But going back to that scene, Melissa, Nadine showed up with Teddy, played
Who
by-
also was on the burial committee later on.
yes, and who
Stephen
also
King.
is the one who found Stu, who is the one
Yep.
Stu sees when he comes back.
Yep,
Yeah, it's
yep.
it's Stephen King, and it's I always like when he
You
does
know,
that. Like,
I do too. Here's the thing that throws me off every single time. His voice is so much higher than the
Didn't
voice that
expect-
narrates in my head
Yep.
in the books. Every time.
yeah,
And he does this a
Well,
lot. So I've heard him a lot. But even in his audiobooks, his voice is higher than I expect.
yeah. I think this one was a little bit higher pitched up than even his normal speaking. Like he was doing more of a just a slightly touch higher. Well, compared to like
I don't
his
know.
like I'm used to his author notes from the authors things, and it always
Yeah.
sounds a little down. This was a little pitched higher than his normal.
What movie did we watch that he played like the
It.
shopkeeper?
It too.
Yes.
It part 2.
It was high pitched there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was also the cook in Stranger Things. I think he had a cameo as a burger chef in
Which
Stranger Things
season
season
one?
2. Season 2, I think.
Okay.
I'm literally going through
at the
season 2 right now. We just got to episode 5 today.
at the
haven't seen-
diner. I
haven't
could be
seen it
wrong
yet.
about that. I could be wrong about that, but I want to say it's he's in
It's been a
Stranger
long
Things.
time since I've
Yeah.
seen season 2.
It's the first
Okay.
time I've ever watched it, so I'm catching up now.
Okay.
All right. So is that end of 3 there?
No.
They send off the. Oh no, yeah,
No.
yeah. 3's got a lot.
Three's got a lot. We're not there. We have
Yeah.
an explosion still. And we have
Yes.
Harold. It's like Harold builds a bomb. Nadine kind of freaks out about it, even though totally eggs him on. They kind of hook up, but it's weird because network censors. There's an explosion. Franny's hurt. I don't care.
Nick's dead.
Also,
Nick got vaporized.
so did Susan.
Yeah.
So did a lot of other people, apparently, who we didn't know, but they were dead. Okay. And then I liked this change. Franny wakes up and she's in the same hospital room as Mother Abigail, who came back.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of consolidating all of this. It was weird that their fight happened in a dream.
Okay.
Their
I-
argument of they have to go and the boys have to go and you have to stay behind because you're the woman. That was all Franny's dream before it was like in her head. There was not the out loud conversation with the people in the room. Later on, they all came and she got healed and whatever. But that moment happened as an internal thing, which was weird, but fine.
By that point, I'm not gonna lie. By part 3, because I binged through 1, 2, and 3 all in the same evening, and like powered through them really fast. And by that point, I was like checked out. So the end, besides the
That's what-
explosion,
Yeah. That's why I labeled in my notes, ooh, part 4 is starting. So like, I could keep it going. Yeah, so there was a fight. So I really only have 2 more comments. It's so we talked about all that. Oh, they did the fight as a dream. Weird. Oh, but Franny was just as annoying when the men left as she was in the book. However, props to Lucy for her silent strength rather than the breakdown she kind of did in the book. I thought Lucy was a much better female in that moment of like, okay, I'm going to be this pillar of strength and whatever and be sad, but be sad and strong. And then it says end of part 3. I love that they cut a lot of the travel bullshit out of this part.
Yeah.
That's what I had for part 3. Am I missing anything? Luke, any other thoughts before we jump to the stand?
I was a bit checked out for part 3 as well. Whenever I watched it, I watched part 4 almost on its own. Part 3, I kind of had similar to what Benji was saying. I was just late one night, and I was there, and I'm 3/4 watching and just getting through, probably at close to 2 times speed, because the whole thing is available on YouTube. For anyone watching it, I put the link in the chat a little bit earlier. I should probably put it in the description of this video down below as well. I'll try to do that. But I mean, there's a lot of little things that happen here, I guess, throughout all of part 3. We have the town hall meeting, right, where Molly Ringwald gets to sing the national anthem. That whole thing was still stupid to me. I just never.
that was a skip. That was a 6 or a 70-second.
That was
skip.
from the book.
I know.
I
even
know.
In the book, I thought it was stupid. For me.
Oh, I did too.
I would just. It
But-
was,
I mean,
That's
it was
my
fitting
point. That's
story.
like
Narratively, it was fine. I just don't need to hear it. Like that's
Yeah.
that. Like for me, I've heard it 10,000 times. I don't need to hear it in the show. You're wasting 70 seconds of your television show. I'm gonna skip ahead. Just get the and then cut to the next thing.
I'm sorry. You want to do a what kind of sweeping in shot? Let's start with the wide shot and zoom in for the 4th time in the same movie because it looks cool, but cut out 7 chapters. I got it. It's
Thanks,
that kind
Chris
of moment.
Columbus.
Right.
Melissa's
How did he
favorite.
make the masterpiece of Home Alone and then murder my? Okay.
Oh no, 1 and 2 are still way better than most of the other ones. Anyway,
Different
absolutely.
podcasts, different podcasts.
absolutely.
But
But
the other thing that
So-
we kind of pushed by was Nadine going to Harold, right, and that relationship developing in the way it does, and whatever, They're on
And we did get the Nadine with Larry pick me, choose me scene.
right. Yeah, we got all of
You
those.
know.
Like I didn't feel like there were any major, quote unquote, major character scenes that were missing.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
things in there that, yeah, like I didn't really care for.
We even got Harold. We even got Harold on the body. On the body crew.
Yeah, like it's a bunch of
so-
almost like vignettes of these little
Yeah.
micro scenes, and I felt like got most of the big ones in there. Whether they were needed, I don't know. They're character moments, but I felt like the book drug at this part anyway. It really dragged
Same.
here anyway. So, yeah, I got nothing else. We're
Yep.
on to part 4.
I don't know. Part of me feels like this should have been a 3-part miniseries.
I feel like
No,
it
I
should
think
have
it
been
actually-
a shorter book. So
Well, it should have been a 3-part, 2.5, like 3-hour each episode. Like
No.
like
Three-
cut
a 3-hour
the-
each. So 9
instead of a
hours?
4. No, 2 hours, 2-part, 3-hour each. That's what I meant. Sorry, like a 1 and 2 3-hour, miniseries, or like I guess a 3 and 6 would work. But with commercials, I'm saying 6 hours is perfect for it. 6.5 that this is at, there's a bit even still draggy in that. They could cut out a half an hour of the whole
I would
miniseries
agree
as a
that
whole.
half an hour would be easy.
And
Well, I was thinking with commercials though, if you did 3, you'd have to have 30 minutes of commercials for each 2-hour block. So you're really
Yeah.
talking 3 1.5-hour movies,
and that's what I
which
was
would
saying.
be about 4.5 hours total. So I mean, and
Yeah, it's hard
the
to
middle,
break it down.
like I would do a lot with the people getting sick. I'd cut both 2 and 3 all together with travel, dreams, and here we are in Boulder. And then I'd go straight to explosion, and that's where I'd start part 3. Part 3 I thought was phenomenally done. Or part 4. Part 4.
final part.
Part 4.
Yeah.
The final part. I thought that.
Yeah.
Minus like one big thing. I thought that was done. Starting with Harold, right? Harold was our
Yeah.
first moment. Impressive stunt work
Yeah,
on the motorcycle crash.
Actually, yeah.
Like for
it was
real, impressive
pretty
stunt
stuff.
work.
Yeah, you have to
They
like
showed a
wonder,
lot.
was that like a wire like the impact and the flight, was that like a wire job, or was that a flying into a airbag? Like that's like,
Maybe.
how do they
there
pull
was
that off?
And then there was literally a
tumble.
moment where he was flying over. So you know that somebody was up. And then there was tumble. Like there
Yeah.
was just a lot involved in those shots. I thought that was a good
Oh yeah.
moment.
And so I want to talk about Harold's scene really quick, because I did have a problem with this part, especially going back to the Harold from part 3, where I'm Harold Laudner and I do this in my own free will, or I do this in my own
Mhm.
accord. He says that,
Mhm.
which is in the book. Then he writes a 2-line note. I'm sorry, I was coerced,
I was misled.
misled, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like,
God,
Fuck
like
you.
such a man.
no, it's like, fuck you. I liked the Herald owning up to it, like writing like a whole, novel or a novella worth of shit as he's laying there dying, and you get he's accepting what he had
I know.
done, and but no, they turn it around and make it said, I was misled. No, you motherfucker, an hour ago you said I do this on my own free will, and so that
mean,
bothered me.
I feel like
Story-wise-
the same thing. I feel like it's we also don't have Harold as the writer. We don't have Harold as a writer. We don't have that at all in this.
Rude.
And so
Fair.
he just writes down, which I think that's basically what his epitaph that he writes for himself in the book. That's what it boils down to. He admits it, and he just, I followed the wrong guy. That's what it comes down to. I picked the wrong
I would have
side.
preferred with I'm Harold Laudner and I was wrong.
Sure.
Do that, like something like that, not misled, because misled means you followed somebody and
So you're saying there's a connotation of ignorance on that.
yes,
Okay.
yes. When
Well,
in
I
fairness, we
wasn't
know
looking at it that way.
throughout.
I wasn't looking at it
Yeah.
that way personally. But that's
No,
fair.
I was with you, Benj.
That's fair.
I truly believe that it was almost like a cop out. Like I admit to all this and I whatever, but it really wasn't. Not that it wasn't my fault for this, but if other people hadn't done this to me, no, you don't need to. Like, it was just a little
Yeah.
bit of throwing that guilt on somebody else. Hi, narcissist.
Exactly.
No, own that shit. You screwed up.
Yeah.
Sure.
And in the novel, he did, and that's the thing. In the novel, he
Yes.
did own it.
I
So-
agree
and
with
that's
you.
I think my book character on that moment is probably coloring the way that I looked at how you can get that done in a really quick scene. So as a book reader, I feel like it got there because I know what it's intended to be. But if truly taking that out of it, I agree. It opens some blaming or not, it opens some blaming doors as opposed to ownership doors.
That is the problem with Harold.
Yeah, that is
I
his
think
fundamental.
Harold's character got the biggest was the biggest detriment for being cut from the book. This is gonna hurt. Harold in the book was better than Harold in the show.
Here, all right, put it on the
Yeah,
books. Melissa was a
great
big fan of
point, Jake.
Harold.
Explanation
Because-
versus excuse.
I don't even mean in this moment. I agree with you in this moment. I think
No.
the entire arc of Harold,
Mhm.
it was don't get me wrong, he was still a douchebag the entire damn time. But at least he, in his brain, we saw where that came from, as opposed to just, I have to hit these points because the book said at this point I'm doing this,
Yeah.
which is a lot how I felt about Harold. And I wonder if his character, if it was like the writing and the cutting and the adapting, or if in stronger hands more could have been done with that, right? Because Harold isn't one of the better known or more experienced actors in this, and he's up against really strong actors.
Yeah.
So it could be both playing against him.
It could be, but I think it goes more to the cut thing because we don't get the Herald strength initiative either. We don't get the, hey, I have these plans and I'm going to fix this, or I'm going to get us gas. I'm going to write these signs up for people.
Right.
I'm going to have Larry
Right.
fall in love with me as
Yeah.
a leader.
You're right.
It's so yeah.
Oh, I
I think
forgot
it
about
more.
that. Yeah.
You're
You know,
totally right.
I think it comes more to the cut of they just cut Harold's character to be a dick, and that's
Yes.
it. He was just a
And
dick.
But I wonder if given an actor with a little more something, would it be quite as noticeable?
I think so.
I think it
it's
would still be bad, but
Yeah.
I don't think the actor did himself any favors either.
It was that leather.
See, the actor
jacket.
to me, the actor to me reminds me very much of Marty McFly's dad, Kristen Glover. I for a long time thought it was
Crispin
Crispin Glover. I honestly thought it like that was the actor. The first time I watched it, I'm like, oh no, that's not him. He was a little bit older by that point.
Yeah, no,
But
he
it
was
very
so
much
versatile.
the same nerdy, kind of vibes and stuff. And and yeah, Crispin Glover thought he was a bigger actor than he actually was. And I think this, kind of similar thing. So I'm not going to defend the actor entirely, but I think the writing hurt it way more than the acting.
Yes. There is a book out there called The Important Book, right? It's like the important thing about rain is that it's wet. It's blue and it gives us, and it waters the flowers and it gives us life. But the important thing about rain is it's wet. The important thing about Harold's character is it was poorly written. Yes, the actor wasn't great. And yes, the makeup artist didn't do a very good job. And yes, the leather jacket was ridiculous. But the important thing about Harold Lauder is that it was poorly written. Is that a fair summary?
I think
Absolutely.
so. I think it was an opportunity. It was consolidated in a way that it didn't give that character a real chance, in my opinion.
Which I think a lot of other characters did okay.
Yeah.
Not you don't have enough time to serve everybody.
So a comment that I made earlier, a lot of characters became a lot more one-dimensional. I think his character probably suffered the most through that. Because we don't
Yes.
have the complexity that Harold
Of
has.
the bigger characters,
Right.
yes.
You see what
Well,
I'm saying? Of
I'd
those
say
main
him and
characters.
Franny. I'd say Franny suffers that as well.
Oh,
She became.
she's better in the movie than she is in the book.
Oh, I absolutely agree. She's a better character because she
she's
gets
more
streamlined.
one-dimensional.
She's more one dimensional. She's a better character in the movie than
The
she is
weird
in
thing
the
to say, but
book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on, I have to have emotions about this. Give me a second.
While you're thinking, real quick comment on Crispin Glover. He was excellent
Give me a
in
minute. Hold on.
American Gods. So there you go.
I haven't seen it,
It's
so
good. It's really good.
Oh, well, while Melissa's getting her minute, quick shout out to thing I'm watching right now that I highly recommend to everybody from 2014 through 2019, Banshee. Cinemax show. I was talking to Luke about that.
Yeah.
I just found out about it, just learned about it. I'm on season 4. So goddamn good. I highly recommend it to anybody. Just saying. It's the guy who plays Homelander is the lead actor in it. That's
right. Yeah.
all I can say. Yeah, it's very, very good.
I love the
Anyway.
boys. I love the boys. That's such a great show.
So, yes, Melissa.
Franny sucks in both, and I don't think one sucks more than the other. She just sucks.
They both suck.
They both suck. I think, but it's Molly Ringwald,
Who's
and
not
so.
great.
Oh, I've always loved Molly Ringwald.
I
Like
don't-
I'm
I
not
don't
in
let
love.
that-
I'm
I
not
don't let
in
that-
love with.
I don't let that color my experience on this. I don't really care for her or anything. Nothing like against
She's very
her.
annoying in it. Yeah,
It's just
it's an
she's-
annoying
she's been
character,
in
but
big movies, and
but
I don't think
again,
she did much in those movies.
slimming down the character improved it drastically, in my opinion.
That's to me.
And my
It still
opinion
sucked.
is they both were crappy, and so I didn't give that much attention to it because
Yeah.
they just were crappy. And the Molly Ringwald thing, look, she's not my least favorite actress, but she's not on my list.
No,
she's fine. She's there.
So, but again, because of that, the character of Franny is not worth any of my time because, like, I don't really want to, weigh which one's better, right? Like, I don't like either, so I'm just not going to eat those foods. Why would I tell you if it's better than the other? Because I'm not going to try them either.
The important thing on why I'm saying that it was better in the movie in the miniseries is because we got so much less. It was just better because it was less.
Yes.
I think Benji was kind of
Yes.
saying that, and
That's streamlined. Just
it's so
We're
streamlined.
gonna pull it back.
It's
This
just-
is our new thing.
It's
The important
simpler.
thing.
But the important thing, in my opinion, is there was just less, and it was better because of that. To me, definition of why her character is better in the miniseries over the book.
Absolutely.
100%. Okay, thank you. Okay.
We got there.
Can
We
we-
got there as a team.
Glenn, not Glenn. Yes, no, not Glenn.
Glenn
the
Bacon.
judge who was
Judge.
no,
He was
the
great.
judge.
Yeah, he was great.
He was phenomenal.
Who is I will
Bobby
find it.
Terry. I know who Bobby
Ossie
Terry is.
Davis.
Oh, he's the judge.
Judge
yeah, he
Richard
was
Ferris
great.
is Ossie Davis.
Hang on. Oh, sorry, I know that actor from several things, and I just
He
Me too, that's how I
is,
felt.
Most well known for Do the Right Thing, Bubba Hotep, The Client. He died in 2005 as well. So there you go.
Oh, okay. And then who is Bobby Terry?
Sam
Raimi.
Raimi, director
Oh,
of the
shit.
Tobey Maguire
Yes,
Spider-Man trilogy.
Spider-Man.
He just directed the Doctor Strange Multiverse
Yeah.
of Madness movie. He's like a big deal, and here he is in like this little mini series playing Bobby
so-
Terry.
So there's another director in this as well with a cameo later on, but it is I had it here. I have to find it,
I
but
missed it.
It's not Tom
Yeah.
Holland, is it?
it is not Tom Holland.
Because there's a guy,
It
that's
is
an actor whose name is Tom Holland, and
Yeah.
he plays Carl Huff. Carl Ho.
Not born in 1994, pretty sure.
No. This guy is an American screenwriter, actor, and director, though. More for
So absolutely not Spider-Man.
no.
2 seconds.
He wrote the sequel, the 1983 sequel to Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho. He also co-wrote Child's Play franchise.
Okay. Wait, what's the guy's
That's
name?
Tom Holland, Thomas Holland.
Okay.
We went
Okay.
down a rabbit
No,
hole of
yeah.
Spider-Maning.
So yeah, so Russ Dorr, who Tom Cullen, after he leaves Las Vegas, spots 2 people by the fire, 2 guards by the fire. One of them played by John Landis, the director of a very famous director, and I can't think of any of his movies right off the top of my head.
Kentucky Fried Movie, National Lampoon's Animal House, Blues Brothers.
There you go.
American Werewolf in
that's
London.
it.
Coming to America,
Yep.
Beverly Hills.
Three
Cop 3.
Amigos.
Yeah,
Yep.
pretty
Lost
big movies right
World.
there.
Yeah, bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam.
Yeah, John Landis.
I would not put
and-
Lost World up as high as those other ones, but it's okay.
Well, the Lost
It's a
World's
it's a
actually
big,
decent.
Big movie though. Either way.
Yeah,
I'm
it's a
not
big-
saying, but compared to like the Blues Brothers, I'm
Or
just
Animal
yeah.
House. Yeah.
Trading
Right.
Places.
Yep.
You know,
Coming to America.
America.
That's
Like
a
these
really
are
fun
like
movie.
landmark
yeah.
films. And Lost World is just a good
well, yeah,
sequel.
fair. But yeah, but I saw him. I'm like, I know that guy. I'm like, shit. He kind of looks like George Lucas, like a
He does
young
kinda look
George
like
Lucas.
I see
Like,
it.
and so I'm like, but I know it's not George Lucas. I know he's a director. Who the fuck is this? So I had to look it up, and yep, John Landis.
Yeah,
So,
I
yeah,
watch a lot of TV with my phone with IMDb just up all the time. Like, who's that guy? Because in my house, my husband and two of my children have this weird, like, mental ability to see a face and say, "Oh, I've seen that actor in this and this and this." They do it by sight, and I can't. So I Google, like, who is this guy?
Unihills is really, really good at that. That some of our listeners might know is Glenn of House Dog.
Yes,
who
Glenn is very good at it.
will be making his return on Drinks and Those Things here in a couple of weeks when we kick that open for
Yeah.
the House of the Dragon.
So all right. So the judge is found by Bobby Terry, and he is shot in the face by Bobby Terry, and they didn't do the line in here, which I'm kind of mad about. The Randall Flagg line of Bobby Terry, you screwed up. Come on, you can put that on ABC. You can say that. It was a very family friendly line, and he's like, "Oh, you done messed up now." No, that's not the fucking line. And that bothered me. I was like, "Damn it, come on, Randy." You know, instead of messing, it was like it just.
What if Stephen King wrote the "You Screwed Up" and the actor just like ad-libbed and changed it, and Stephen King wasn't there that day? The director's like, "It's fine, whatever." It didn't even notice. And Stephen King's watching it later, going, "What did you? What?
You're there. Just say the line. It was on the paper. Say
the thing.
7 less words than you said."
Hey Bart, say Bart, say the line. Say the line. I didn't do it.
I am a big fan of seeing Flagg covered in Bobby Terry's blood.
Yeah.
That was like the only thing that I really enjoyed about most of his makeup, but it's cool.
Yeah, his was how they won best makeup or even nominated. I guess nominated for miniseries. Okay, there might not have been a big competition, but you know, because his makeup, was not good. And we can't really shit on CGI because back in the day, I'm not going to shit on the CGI stuff, the transitions, but the makeup itself. For a miniseries, CGI is still pushing it in 94.
We're going to hold that conversation till we get to the Hand of God, but I will continue the makeup conversation.
They won outstanding makeup for a miniseries, movie, or a special. So that's everything.
On TV.
On TV miniseries, movie, or special.
Primetime Emmy Awards.
Yeah, so it's a TV movie.
Yes.
Like, so it's either a one-night movie, I would like... Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm with
so,
you. Yep.
But still, they must not have had much competition that year. That's all I'm saying. But 94 was like the prime time of movie, TV movies made for TV. Anyway, so where are we at? So we get that. Then we get they come in and find out that Dana is the new spy. She's and I like that transition actually. I like that, Randy's talking to Lloyd, and we first get the scene with Lloyd and Dana just hanging out, doing their thing. Then Lloyd's sitting up in bed, talking with Randy on the radio, and Randy goes, yeah, I've known who it is. And then you get the quick flash to, them standing over the bed and everything like that. I liked them including Julie Lawry in that scene instead of adding another character, bring, call back to Julie being over there. So it fit.
So this is
just
where we at. Sorry,
this is Dana, where Dana gets caught or Dana gets found out.
Okay, so we just
kind
had,
of thing.
So we've already had Nadine getting married with Randall.
That doesn't happen yet. That's coming up.
Okay,
it's after the Dana.
You're right. Yep. Yep. I'm good.
So so Dana gets caught out and gets the introduction with Flagg, and I that was actually a decent scene with those two. It was semi-believable where you were like, I obviously didn't read the story, like, yeah, she's not getting out of this. But then there's that part where it's like, she might get out of this. There's a chance she can get out of this. She's not getting out of this. And it was well done. They had the banana thing just like the book, had her cutting her neck on the open glass, and so
Oh man.
and well acted. Who was that actress? I'm not sure.
For Dana.
I know it. Dana, yeah, Dana Kelly Overby has no Wikipedia page. So
Alright.
let's see. But I've seen her and stuff. Have
By the way, the other
what she said.
nominees for outstanding individual achievement in makeup for a miniseries or special include Gypsy, Abraham, Tracy Allman Takes on New York, and the HBO miniseries And the Band Played On, which is about the AIDS epidemic and was amazing. I've actually seen that a few times. So, especially like having to show the degradation of what happens to your body when you have AIDS and when it progresses, compared to, Hornhead.
Oh my
Okay.
god. Yeah, like every time they switched Randall Flagg his face over, oh man, that was brutal. I like that was
so bad.
that was the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it's 1994. I know. I get it. Like
Yeah.
you
Well, and
But
the
really-
thing,
that's
like,
the
the CG
same year that Forrest Gump came out. I cannot forgive you too much.
no, but I mean they didn't do
budgets.
anything
Yeah, I
visually in Forrest
the
Gump like
the
that.
VFX I can forgive. It's the makeup. Like once the transition happens, it looks like shit. Like it's
I know.
like
I-
yeah, and I'm agreeing with you, Luke. Like that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
It's
so,
terrible. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like it just reminds me of the Goosebumps R.L. Stein The Mask movie. It's
It's a
terrible.
really scary book,
Yeah.
but not a great show.
But all right, so we have the Dana scene. Like I said, well acted. I think the blood in that scene was real. Like that's the thing. The gore is more the makeup side of it. Was actually well done. Whenever they did the gore
Yes.
stuff, that was well done. And like the dead bodies, like decomping in Idaho, like they ran out of the diner and you see like the people have
Yes.
been sitting there for how long. So I'll give that for the
Yes.
makeup and all that. So there we go.
So,
Oh.
censors, TV censors, how many pints of blood can I show on primetime network TV? What do you think? 4, 3, how about 3.5? How many seconds? I'm telling you, I think these are conversations that really happen. Continue.
I'm sure. The only reason Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is rated R is because of one scene, and it's because they say fuck over 32 times within 3 minutes. They said, if you cut this scene out, we can make it a PG-13 movie, no problem. And the director said, fuck no. It's like, so it's, but anyway, so then Nadine gets to the, we get Harold in the ravine, finally writing his dumb note, takes the gun, blasts it. And apparently Stu can feel the feelings of Harold.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I'm fixing my eye twitch. We're good. Keep going.
Yeah, and there was the one in part 3, one quick reference to Joe, the kid, having the
Yes.
the shine a little bit.
Yeah.
And apparently it's just, oh, Stu's got enough that he can tell. Oh yeah, that was Harold. What? Come on. I don't
This
know.
way.
Yeah. So we get that, and then Nadine finds Flag in the desert, or whichever way around, and we get that scene and the gratuitous male side of it now. And yeah, it was actually it and show her change of mentality. She was
Yes.
accepting, and then
Yes.
she was like, nope,
Clearly, no.
but didn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. And that
but didn't matter.
actress was brilliant in this.
Yeah.
I loved her, everything, all of it.
Yeah. So they get back and she's catatonic. And at that point, while she's getting brought in, you have Julie telling Lloyd about Tom and everything. And we get the blow off thing a little bit differently done instead of, but it was well done. It was,
I agree.
well timed and everything. Then moving up, we get Lloyd's confrontation with Randy about telling him about Tom. And
I thought that was
I,
I thought Lloyd did a good job in that scene, you know? And that was one of my
yeah,
favorite scenes in the book, really, where he finally stands up and it's just like, you cut me off. Like, I was trying to tell you, but you didn't give me the chance to even say anything. I liked that was worked in, and I thought the actor did a good job of portraying that and getting his ass kicked a little bit, but not
yeah.
backing down without being aggressive, forwardly aggressive to get, too much of a reprimand.
And I can't remember if this was in the book in the same scene where Nadine takes the nosedive off the thing, if that was in the exact same scene or if it was like a chapter later or something or a section later. But I like that they combined those. Basically, Randy opened the door to let the air out or whatever, and Nadine took advantage of it and took that. All hope is lost and gone. Uh, from there we get the Whitney scene telling, "Hey, we're gonna burn out," and
Did
Lloyd's like,
anybody
"Nope, I'm
recognize
sticking around."
him?
I know him. I know his face. I don't know where he's
Who
from.
is this that we're talking about?
Whitney. Sam
Morgan.
Anderson.
I know him
yeah.
from Lost.
Oh, yeah. Never watched
Okay.
it.
No, I know him from Perfect Strangers because it just popped up. But yeah, and actually, he was talking about Forrest Gump. He was the principal.
I liked him. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So we get that scene, and then we get the boys, or actually, no, we get the washed out highway for some goddamn reason after only 2 months of no repairs.
I'm telling you, it's because the dam was going unattended. I had an explanation, and I'm telling
and
you,
it was good.
I'm going to stop you. What I'm going to say is, I watched that scene, and I was like, oh, look, see, it's totally washed out. You can see the washout. It could be a dam. It could absolutely be that. And I thought about our conversation of like, see, it makes perfect sense. It looks like a washout. It's not just construction failing after 2 months.
Hey, I saw roads washed out this week with the amount of rain we've gotten here in St. Louis. It's been insane.
Yes.
Like the flash flood warnings,
Yes.
2 different days, 8, 9 inches of rain in one night, 1 6-hour period. Pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, I saw some roads washed out in a day. So you never know. You never know.
No, absolutely. I'm just bringing back my smart assness.
Yeah.
But so we get that scene in though. Smart acidity. It's better than your smart basics.
Hey, keep your smart basics out here.
So we get that scene of the boys trying to climb the ravine and Stu tumbling down and Kojak staying with him. That's about it. I mean, we know the scene. Well acted. It actually wasn't overacted like I had expected it to have been, like it was in the book, at least here in the audiobook wise. Audiobook made it was very overacted, especially on Larry's part. This one wasn't. It was more a quick acceptance and okay, let's get on, keep on keeping on.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought it was a smart choice to have Stu go up first on the far side. So that when he fell, they didn't have to climb back down and then climb back up.
Yeah.
They didn't. It was like, okay, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, like, they're also risking the thing twice in the book. I thought it made more sense for he was the last one down, but he's going to be the first one up. It made a lot more sense to me.
Agreed. Yeah. So we get their walk. Trashy finds the big fire, but it's not over-explained. And that's the cool thing. It's not super over. I don't even think they showed a radioactive sign in there in the area, like in that scene. I wasn't paying that close attention, but they just found him finding missiles, and it's like, okay, cool. And we do get him blowing up the air base and everything too.
Yeah, they really didn't talk too much about like the worry of Flag creating an air force to drop a bomb on Boulder. Like we didn't really have much of that. So like I feel like there was maybe a missed opportunity to why that was so significant when Trashy blew that place up, where the hangar. But
yeah,
I mean it makes sense.
They kind of
know.
Well, they kind of hinted at it in the first or in part 3 with Tom when he's doing his reconnaissance, which is something we didn't get from the book because Tom, they do show him walking into the airfield and like, yeah, by October we'll be able to fly over Boulder, And so
Right.
they did kind of mention that just offhandedly. So when Trash blows it up in part 4, if you weren't thinking about it, it's okay, that kind of makes sense, or does make sense, but knowing what we know from the story and everything, it makes sense why it hurts so much to them. So finally, the boys get captured. I think that was actually a well done whole thing being brought in. I don't know who the actor was for the cop. I don't even care. I didn't recognize him, so doesn't really matter. Glenn was on Glenn point at that at that issue,
I wrote that
especially in the
down.
jail cell.
Glenn was
okay.
great.
Glenn was great. Glenn was good. Glenn was good.
And stuff.
Never mind. And stuff. But so we get that, and we get Glenn in the jail with Randy and Lloyd. Not as much of a drug out scene, which is appreciated, because they got to the point. You got Glenn laughing at Flag. You got Lloyd finally kind of getting that, really worrisome. I don't want to do this kind of thing. Again, going back to the standing up to him point. And am I missing anything? Like, cut me off if you have thoughts or anything.
No,
So
I thought Glenn was pretty good in this section here, where I think he did a good job of consolidating a lot of the conversations that we have in the book at this point, where they see Flag, really? You're what we've been afraid of? Like, come on. Like, you're kind of a joke. Like, I don't know. I like how when the veil gets pulled off of Flag, that Glenn just calls him out. He goes, "Really? You're the big bad?" Like, he was just like, "Really? You're the villain in this story?" Like, we've respected you so much, and like, it's like you meet Voldemort and it's actually just like a bunny. Like, there's really nothing to it. Like, I don't know. And not a killer bunny. That's different. You need a holy hand grade for that. We all know this. But
3 shall be the number.
and 5 is right out.
not
Uh,
blue is right out.
yeah, that was inside joke right there. But yeah, I thought Glenn was great showing the audience that, and we've seen it in the movie already, that Flag, I mean, not that impressive. Like,
It's kind
really,
of toothless. I mean,
yeah,
to a point. Like Barry might have other words about that, but that's the only time we've seen him actually act.
I
Realistically,
feel like Randall Flagg would have done better to start smaller. I think he overestimated his reach and his powers. He should have started smaller.
mhm.
well, and
He's
that's
not
another
a
thing with
big
this.
bad guy. He's like a level 2 bad guy. He's not a level 8 Bowser bad guy. Sorry.
That's
Yeah.
fair. He's an
Yeah,
early
and like,
Dr. Robotnik.
Perfect example was like showing his power up was because the first scene we have with the judge, of thing, and then he tells Lloyd, "Oh, I know who it was." The very next scene, they pull Dane out, and he's already back, and then he's back out. So that was showing his reach, his quickness, and everything. But beyond that, okay, you're a fast walking dude, and you might have
And
some
again,
strength.
if you hadn't read the book, you would really not understand that.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And that's fair, but at the same point, you don't need to. It's kind of one of those, like, it's cut enough to where movie wise it still makes sense to
Maybe.
how it happened.
Well, and they did show dates. So there was some time passing through that, which I appreciated the dates, by the way,
Yeah.
throughout the entire series that
Oh yeah.
they were helping with that.
So all right, so we get Larry and Ralph being brought to the gallows, to the drawn and quartering section. Decently done first half of the scene, kind of
Yes.
thing. Acting wise, not overdrawn, and not as God heavy, thankfully, as compared to the book of them like chanting, the evil, like I shall not
I
fear
will
evil.
fear no
and
evil. Yeah.
I will fear no evil and all that. So I do appreciate that on that, and I will be right back.
Sure. No, I thought the God play was not as heavy handed. I agree with Benji on that. And yeah, I mean, there's like a thought that it's a belief that, but it's not so definitive. This is God doing this, like, which is what it seems like the book is kind of saying. It's a little more
Because that's what Mother Abigail said. And while
Right.
she and we didn't really talk a lot about her religious belief. I think I'm going to use the word zealot, and I don't, not
That's-
quite the word, but
it's actually-
that's where she was. It was not quite so obvious that she had followers as much as just, I am doing this because like I have my God. I think there were followers, but in the book it was, oh Mother Abigail, oh Mother Abigail. And in the movie there was a little bit of that, but again, for consolidation purposes, we lost some of that, and I was okay with that, which makes the ending here with not having as much heavy-handed godness in the lines be appreciated.
I agree with that.
Yeah, and with the Mother Abigail thing, we did get the "Oh, I dreamed of you," and that was about it. We got like 4 or 5 of those, and it's like, okay, that's fair. One of my favorite Mother Abigail lines was from part 2 when Nick goes, "I don't believe in God." That's okay, hon. He believes in you, and Ruby D delivered that line beautifully. I just thought that one was brought her back up. So anyway, so we get we get Trashy showing up with Sibila, my life for you. I brought you it. I brought you, and even this actor reminded me of Little Nicky. It's just, I brought it. The A bomb, the big fire.
Yeah.
You know, like my brain, like the voice wise, just it's Little Nicky. You know, and it's fine, but it's just like, okay. And this one, I don't mind the over explanation for him to say the A bomb. In the book, it felt over too much. He didn't need to say, I brought you the big fire, because we already knew it was the A bomb. You were at the atomic place, you found the A bomb, you found the warhead. And here it made more sense to say, I brought the A bomb. It's just little nitpicky stuff, but the line being delivered here made more sense, or a little less explanation kind of thing. Anyway, but then so you have Whitney being burned with Randall's thing. And I do like that Julie got bit by the Whitney being electrified. As she starts running off, she trips over Whitney and gets electrified too. So she doesn't get vaporized, she gets to get electrified, which is probably worse, kind of thing.
Maybe she lived through that and got vaporized, because that would be cool. She was awful.
Yeah.
Sorry, sidebar. Keep going.
No, fair. But yeah, then we get the Ralph. Larry, you see it? The hand of God. Which, again, better delivery than the audiobook version, at least, because in the audiobook it was, oh my God, it's the hand of God. It's just the way it was written, you know. And so this delivery was better. And see, again, CGI for 94 for a TV miniseries budget, not the worst. Not the worst. Trust me, I've seen much, much worse. But
my opinion is it sucked. I didn't need to see the hand. Whether your opinion is it was okay. I didn't like it. I get to not like it. I don't like it. It was terrible. Like, just have a ball of fire and then I'll say he thinks he see it. It didn't have to be a hand. Anyway, continue.
I go to the 2020. I'm listening. I go to the 2020 version, which it was basically just a lightning bolt, and they go, it's the hand of God. It was a lightning bolt that hits. Like, oh, fuck you. I prefer having like that.
Zeus.
I would like that better.
I like that they tried. They tried to actually make a visual representation of the hand of God to do it. It was like
not
it wasn't
math class. I don't need an accurate model.
Not
anyway,
a part in the book I really give a shit about, so I wish it was more. I wish it was more nebulous as to what it was, as opposed to
I wish there was a better ending. I wish there was a better wipeout apart from just Trashy pulling up with a nuke and just boom, because that's just boring. You know, it's just a cop out ending. Either way you put it, but for their portrayal of it, I don't hate it. I didn't hate their portrayal. I didn't like it, but I didn't like the story, but the portrayal is fine. All right. Then we get moving on, unless anybody's got anything else. Moving on to Stu again. He finally gets the gumption to get out the canyon, and as soon as he reaches the top, Tom finds him. Okay, fine. Yeah, it's fine. Tom finds him. I like that they expedited the travel home instead of staying all winter long in hotels and all that shit. Yeah, they got home by early November. So it's like, okay, that's fine. And we didn't get the long explanations of stuff. Tom got to be the hero.
I liked it in the book because typically in books, I have a hard time letting go of my characters. And so I like this kind of extra tail end things. But I agree. For a mini series, I appreciate the consolidation piece.
Absolutely.
And then they make it back to Boulder. We see Stephen King again, which I was happy about. You gotta get one more cameo in there. And then I saw him go into in the hospital room, and I was like, okay, skip, end credits. Okay, that was literally because I don't care about him talking to Franny. Oh my god! And then I did actually skip to the end of the end credits just to see if there was a post credit scene, just to see if Randall woke up in the Amazon or
I did the
wherever.
Oh,
same
did he?
thing.
Because I didn't do
He
that
did
part.
not.
No,
He did not.
it
I
did
did
not.
the same thing just to make sure, but
I watched the Franny stuff. There was only one thing of note. Randomly, the baby's now a girl.
Yes, yeah. Baby's girl never had really any issues, that
No,
that
she
we know
did.
of.
They were. She
Oh
was.
yeah,
She
that's right.
was.
She had the
Yes, she
flu,
absolutely
and
was
yeah.
fighting the flu and was gonna make it. But they never did. Then they didn't do the scene later where the baby was crawling around, and they didn't do the stupid Franny thing of I'm gonna move to Maine where I'm gonna have a complicated delivery without any medical attention. But
Yeah.
it's cool. So no, they didn't do any of that. It just ended with like the baby's gonna be fine and the doctor's talking to her. But the baby's a girl because of all the things we have made sure we got in, that we changed. Like
It's because
I mean,
girls are important, Melissa.
well, there's absolutely nothing in the show up to this point that has made me believe that. So why start now?
I agree. It was a random change. No, it was a random change. I mean, again, in now times, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. I mean, change it up. It doesn't have to be a boy. It doesn't have to be the firstborn son of whatever. It's cool that it's a girl. It's fine. And like to me, it's like they're just trying to be. Hey, it doesn't have to be a boy. It can be firstborn
They
girl.
could
And
have made half of the main characters girls, and that would have been a better option. But it's cool.
they could have, yes.
Whatever. They could have let a girl go on the
baby-
journey to Vegas, but we don't kill
baby
girls.
steps.
That's wrong.
Except unless you're a whore like Dana. And I didn't, not my opinion. But yeah, so that's the end of the miniseries. I honestly, of the adaptations of King work, watching this, I still don't like the story. I like this adaptation better than I like the book. So we're gonna jump into kind of final thoughts ish here. I prefer watching this over reading The Stand, personally. Just because The Stand just has too much filler, too much everything. And I like the dumbed down, streamlined version that this one presents. For my, thing of it. I'm glad I've read it twice now. I will probably never read The Stand again. I might watch this miniseries again in 10 years or 15 years, just for shits and giggles.
Luke, final thoughts.
One of my major problems with the book was it did feel like it dragged on a lot in a lot of areas. So I do appreciate the consolidations that do happen. And that's so backwards from how I usually look at books that are, at movie adaptations. I want all the detail because I love this book. Harry Potter, you could make a 7-hour long version of it where you're basically just saying, this is the visual of the book. I'd be okay with that. This, I think I agree with Benji. I enjoy this better than the book itself. There are things left out that I enjoyed in the book. There are a lot of things that are left out that I'm very happy were left out. There were some questionable choices, but they went for it. I thought overall it's enjoyable. It's worth checking out if you got 6.5 spare hours to kill. It's worth checking out over a couple days. But overall, it's fine. I prefer this over the book a little bit, and some of the acting was really good, and some of it was 1994, not very good. I think that's where I'll leave it right now.
So my final thought is I will probably never watch this again because it's too dated for me. And I don't mean dated in like the clothing, but some of the production choices I had a hard time with, obviously, throughout the whole thing, regardless of how the book's been adapted or not adapted. The production value itself was hard for me to
Accept,
believe okay in. Yeah, there's a C word and I can't figure it out. So for me to move past, I might watch the new one. I've never seen it, but I might watch the new one just to see, especially knowing it's going to be a very different kind of adaptation. Um, on the other hand, I will read the book again, but I don't think I'll read it in a longer space because, again, like I said, I really like to live and breathe with characters for a long time. So longer books for me that don't do a lot, but you're getting to live in their world, I appreciate, which is why I like this book so much. You do spend a lot of time just walking with people, literally. So I like that, but I don't like to do that over 6 months. I like to do that over maybe a week.
Mhm.
So for me, it'll be a reread to read and sit at a beach someday. My big giant, I'll probably need a new copy. My big giant book and actually melt into that world a little bit that the production concerns I had will not let me do for the miniseries.
Sure.
Although I will say very little of my concerns come from the acting because the acting in general, with a few notable exceptions, the acting was phenomenal, which made those exceptions really stand out.
Mhm.
But man, high caliber cast overall.
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. And for the
Is there
record,
anything-
I really enjoyed part
Go.
1 of this book. I really enjoyed
Yeah.
part 1. Like the actual fallout of everything. Love that part. It's the
Yeah.
politics stuff and just how much it drags in the middle where it's just like, let's just go. Can we just go? It's that middle section that kills this book for me.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Which is funny because
And, like, for
typically
me-
with King, it's the end.
I know.
Yeah.
And the end was
Yeah,
fine.
for me, it was the end is what killed it. Like the climax. I actually like the end of the story, but the climax of the story was like meh. It faltered. But like for the miniseries wise, when I say I would probably rewatch this, is because I like that nostalgia. I like going back and watching crappy CGI B movie style stuff just to see where we've come from, and what we come to. Because it's the same thing with watching a black and white movie and all that, watching all that, and you watch and you're like, yeah, that's crappy for today's standards, but back then that was tops. And so to me, it's like, that's one reason why I actually do appreciate this, just because you can see how far we've come since, the 30 years ago kind of thing.
Mhm.
But all right, with that said, what do we got planned for next one?
Okay, so I have a plan. And I actually did a little bit of work for said plan. You'll be proud of me. So next month, it is another month off of reading, potentially. We are not doing a new book. What we are going to do. So one of the things that has been a running argument for the last 2.5 years is our book ranking, because we had really good intentions with our numbering system, really good intentions, and it has caused much infighting, and we don't need any help to infight. We're really good at it all on our own. So next month, we are each going to present our very own personal rankings of all the books. Currently, right now, for anybody who's live on screen with me on Zoom, not anybody on YouTube, you have your very own personal floats down here Google slide with your name on it in our folder, color coded. The first slide in there is our original list, so you have all the book titles. The second slide is yours. Notice how we each have our own, so that we will, on Scout's honor system, not look at anybody else's. And then Luke, we will be having to share our screens to present.
Hey, we'll see how it goes.
It'll be great.
gonna
There
work.
will be no problems.
work
It'll
just
work
fine.
really well.
Yeah.
So your mission, should you choose to accept it, although you don't have a choice, is to complete that slide prior to our next recording, which is probably in like 2 weeks.
Less than like a week and a day, or week and 3 days. Monday.
10 days. You have 10 days.
Yeah. And then also on that show, I believe, Luke, we may be discussing plans for our Drawbridge Media channel as a whole for the next coming 2 months, 2.5-ish months.
Talk about that real quick right now if we want to.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
The official long-awaited return of the podcast that drinks and knows things will be starting back up mid-August for the new HBO House of the Dragon show. So that is very exciting. I'm looking forward to drinking and then knowing again. And we also have another show coming up that I know Melissa's very excited about. I'm very excited about. Melissa, what other show are we talking about? It
We
kind of
have
an
the
unnamed
Ring.
podcast right now, but
It is the Rings of Power, the Middle Age, the second age of Middle Earth TV show on Amazon Prime, I believe, coming out 2 weeks after.
September 2nd. Yep.
There we go. I think that drops on like Fridays.
It's a Friday as opposed to Sundays for the other one.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yes.
So if you have any ideas for naming that podcast, because that will officially kick off the Lord of the Rings Tolkien universe that, Melissa and I have been wanting to do since we started everything and
in all our free time.
in all our free time. But we're twisting our own arms to do it because
Yes.
we are very excited about that show. But
Yes.
Benji, you have a suggestion? Let's talk about
The
it off
podcast-
there.
The podcast that walks around here.
Oh, get out of here.
Nope, can't do it.
It's
If it was a show to make fun of it, yes, but we actually really like it, so we're not going to go that direction.
I know.
So anyway, those are
teasing.
some of the new exciting things coming up in the next month, next couple weeks, and then over the next 2 months or so after that, depending on how many episodes there are. So,
Yeah.
I
So
know
we
I'm
may be
very
putting a
excited about it.
hiatus, but we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, we'll figure out what Floats Down Here is
Yep.
doing, just because it is going to be a lot of work to have those two shows going simultaneously. So we'll see what Floats
Three.
Down Here is going to be doing. So yeah, stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing you guys again in 10 days.
10 days.
Yeah,
But everything
10
will
days.
be on this one YouTube channel. Drawbridge Media is our home for everything. As always, you can find everything from us at thepodcastthat.com as well. So check all that stuff out and all of your favorite podcast catchers. We are available there for all of our shows, including Harry Potter stuff at the podcast that must not be named and others. So stay tuned on all the social channels, and I think that does it for this episode, guys.
Yep. And make sure you send your MOONs over to floatsdownhere@gmail.com. Had to get something in there. So, all right. With that said, you'll float too.
Stay imaginary.
Thanks.
The podcast that floats down here.
Hi, I'm Melissa, your Stephen King veteran.
Hi, I'm Ben, the Stephen King and horror film fanboy.
And hello, I'm Luke, your first time Stephen King reader.